Hello and welcome to another gameplay review on the Virkayu gameplay channel, and in this one, as you would have seen from the thumbnail, we have Speedy Gonzalez Hecarim this time because, you know, Chem Tank, Phase Rush, and Force of Nature. Now, Predator has been nerfed. Rank 1 Hecarim, the guy I've made videos about before on the main channel and on this channel, you know, he, bless his soul, did a lot of games with Predator after the nerfs, and the losing streak indicated to him and to everyone else that yeah, it's not as good anymore. No, and you know, he has to test. Someone has to do the testing. Someone has to jump right in, and the one tricks and high yellow are the ones that are going to do that. He swapped a Conqueror back into your Divine Sunderer build set, and he immediately found once more some success. However, T1 Forest is a Season 11 Challenger finisher. Technically rank 4 Hecarim, but that's a whole bunch of nonsense anyway. But he's one of the best Hecarims in Korea and therefore the world. He does not really his main champion though. He kind of plays a whole bunch of stuff. Phase Rush. Yeah, I mean, Conqueror obviously makes a lot more sense in terms of the synergy between the champion, the healing, and the item. The whole rune set is on your screen now. He is obviously going some tenacity here with a Zareth and the Chains of Pain and a Counter-Strike, stun, leaping combo from Jax. You know, tenacity is going to bring him a lot of value. But what these players like to do with Hecarim specifically is whether you're going Chem Tank, whether you're going Divine Sunderer, obviously that's more of a damagey option. They love to throw in a Death Stance, or in the rank 1 player's case, I mean, I say rank 1 with him because he's like a one trick and he plays hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games. He's been Challenger for like 5 years playing only Hecarim, so no matter what the state of the game, no matter what the state of the champion, that's why I refer to him that way. He throws in an Umbral Glaive if he's against a Nidalee. Why would I need the Ghost Blade when I'm facing a Nidalee in Korea? He's going to have a zillion traps laid everywhere when I can just have lethality and go Umbral Glaive. So basically, this player will usually go with like a GA or a Death Stance. But in this build specifically, once more, it's not the run over your face, crazy Hecarim builds, as Graves does what I've been telling people to do for a while, and it's this. Now, I'm just going to rewind so we can see that, but it's not the crazy run of your face build of the early Season 11 is what I was going to say, but it still provides a lot of damage and a lot of utility with the new Chem Tank. The Graves does his red side into his Krugs, into a gank, and Graves is strong because he can do this, and then he can swap into invades, vertical jungling, and whatever he needs. And this, look at this, right? This is exactly what you need to do for pressure. Now, I'm not a fan of what the Hecarim is doing in terms of jungle strategy. What the Graves is doing in terms of jungle strategy, I like it. However, it does leave you with downsides if it doesn't work, which is why you've got to be very important, you've got to be very vigilant with how it works. Now, what happens is, he moves up toward that, that second tier Gromp, right? And we would have perhaps had good inclination that this was going to happen next to this ward over here. So what that means is, when Hecarim does his full sequence crab, resets, and goes down again, Graves will be able to track, invade, and maybe leech some second tier experience, which I hope is what he wants to do. He has to, at this point, assume the Hecarim has moved on to take his blue and Gromp. This champion's very strong, by the way. Very, very strong. Hecarim now, instead of finishing his red, you'll notice that he didn't finish his red. As soon as he saw this information, level 2 gank, what can I take from him? Because otherwise he gets the gank plus all his camps free time. We don't want to do that. He takes his Gromp, he takes his blue. He decides, you know what, I'm level 4 from this. Graves, you are level 2, you shall die. LeBlanc flashes in. Good job. Flash and Ignite burned. We have priority because we had the Akshan top lane against the Jax. I don't know what to tell you, but this is the risk of level 2 ganking and why you don't continually be hyper-aggressive like that, especially diving between 2 towers with 2 cams. There's crabs up, there's this up. You have to foresee that the Hecarim's going to be counter-jungling you. And if he's farming, even if he just did his own camps, right? Even if the Hecarim did his full clear, went down into the river to take this, he's still level 4. You're still level 2. Why even go for this crab when they can see you're going for it? So, Graves, questionable decision-making. Hecarim, excellent decision-making. Akshan, TP dies, as you would expect for your ranged top laners. Is anyone surprised? That was my game, so what can you do? Hecarim in the meantime says, oh, great, fantastic. Let me take my red, take my Krugs, and fall back to base. Now, the reason you do this is because, huzzah, the Graves might assume, hey, this dude is going to go back level 5 to level 3. Level 5 to level 3. Now, this is where Conqueror is excellent but Phase Rush can provide you a lot of kiting versus ranged champions. And that's something worth noting. Now here it's not really something that's a huge game changer in terms of the fight. Definitely you win that with Conqueror as well. But it allows you to match up two. Look at their comp. I mean, there's only one melee. So the Phase Rush here provides a lot of utility in terms of in and out gameplay, as well as kiting their and getting kiting their orders in terms of getting out of range of it. Now, the reason Hecarim refer back to this and this is because in theory now we want to reset. We can have prior on this, as well as defending the dominion of our second spawn camps. Also, because you assume that the Graves might think, oh, the Hecarim has a red buff. Hecarim's going to go back to base and, you know, maybe either re-sequence down or hit his bottom tier camps. I might as well cheekily invade the red. Once the Graves noticed the red was gone, he should have recognized that the Hecarim called his bluff. And honestly, from the Hecarim's perspective, you know, I love what he did, but from the Graves' perspective, I don't know why you would even waste time on that. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. You died because of your own idiocy in the top lane river. You collapse here to try and invade. You think you can kill him. I mean, it's just absolutely stupid. Absolutely stupid. Now, what the Hecarim's done very well is he floats down to this location, takes a second tier Gromp again, right? So not only did he deny the first Gromp, he denied the second Gromp, knowing that Graves was going to be Graves going to be stuck. Graves has to take the camps that are available to him. In this case, Krugs, Raptors, and Wolves. What Hecarim does is, I hope you saw that, dodge the chains, wouldn't really make a difference anyway, just to gank mid lane, hold mid lane, and secure himself a nice, juicy cannon. The benefit of this ward here, and this ward here, is now you can track the multiple minutes in advance now where the Grave is going to be. Grave, yeah, that's about right for this player. The Grave, 100%. If junglers make mistakes like the Graves does in your games, and trust me, they do, you simply are not you're not countering those mistakes with any sort of positive play. He's using his ult immediately. Straight bottom lane, they're level 5, level 4. They're immobile champions. Ezreal did have both sums available, but what are you going to do when the Hecarim just steams at you that way? Now we're 4-0-0, obviously Ionian Boots Velocity Rush. Now, Graves is caught out in a bad position. This is what happens in high elo if you are a jungler that makes this tragic mistake. If you are Graves in this situation and you make these mistakes, this is what a good player, a challenger player will do to you. Now, it's worth noting, the Graves is Master. The current ranking of T1 Forest is Grandmaster, but the dude finished Challenger. So you've got a huge discrepancy in skill here. Obviously, because Forest has gone down as preseason, things happen. This is what happened, you know. And Master, maybe he gets away with this. Maybe the Hecarim thinks, I'll go back to base now, cool. And then Graves gets to steal this and steal this. But in Challenger, you're always calling each other's bluff, and I think you're going to do this, and I know you think I'm going to do this, so I'm going to do something else. That's how it works. That's how it works. But the point being, when junglers make mistakes, look at your replays. Watch from their perspective. Watch what they do. Look at the mistakes they make and say, wow, you know what? I could have actually really punished him for that mistake. And that's really something you have to think about. Now, obviously, if we see Graves top lane here, that's a free Drake. Curry isn't as fixated on these things as we are. I do think the soul points are pretty strong. So if you have a huge lead, and you can do that at any time, that's a bit naughty, isn't it? Just that shove and the smite just tilted my brains out because I play lane as well. So I'm insulted that a jungler did this, and I apologize to the laner, and I'm also disgusted as a laner. Completely lost my train of thought. Yeah, so if you have a lead and you have control over the map and the rivers, there's no need to really force the dragon and potentially give like a soul play or an elder play for the enemy team when you don't need to, because you're just outstatting them anyway. Finally gets his gank off, waits for the counter-strike and the leap to be used, then uses his ult fear. The abilities being chained together very important, and I love this, because now we're not so much concerned with farming, sequencing. We've done that enough. We've done it enough that we have a huge lead. So while Graves can focus his time a little bit on catching up, what we're going to do is now pressure lanes, okay? And that's the benefit of this kind of playstyle, and the benefit of Hecarim in general. He's just going to try and soak up and get back into the game, which is what Graves do, yeah? Graves do this. They're very selfish 1v9 assholes sometimes, let's be honest. But what you can do in that situation is when they make these mistakes and you punish them thusly and righteously, you start ganking lanes, cutting them off. You did good work. Now he's uses our bottom lane, he's uses our top lane, he's taking the Herald. This is more important for the gold swap. Now don't worry, this game is still 28 minutes. Why does it take 28 minutes to close? And that's something that's very, very important, because I made a video on the main channel, as most of you will know. Look, the Graves, you know, We're the same level now. Did he do it selfishly? Yes. Did he do it in a way that tilts his teammates? Yes. Which is a better playstyle, do you think? Which do you think will help your low elo laners and mid elo laners and low diamond laners and any laners want to play for you? Do you want to play with T1 Forest? Or do you want to play with Exagagi? I tried to pronounce it phonetically, that's what came out. We'll stick with it, Exagagi. That is a Q, obviously. Now, once we've done that, obviously we've got 4 minutes until platings need to be used. We have the chem tank finito. Thing is, closing out games, as we were talking about, a lot of people will throw this because you have to remember at the end of the day, your mid lane is still 1-2-0, dead jacks, and your top lane is inting. So it's not like, you know, the mid and the top lane are sitting pretty and enjoying themselves martinis of victory. They're not doing that. You are, they're not. Bot lane is looking solid. Gold lead is 800 gold, so decent optimization. But look at this. Wait, he's doing it again. He's doing it again. Smoke screen, great ability. So the Graves is just literally pushing and taking waves. It's very selfish, but it's not a bad way to get yourself into the game. It's a bad way to get yourself back into the game when, you know, your lane is actually winning. However, the Jax yeets in with his TP, knowing that the Akshan just TP'd, and Graves is here. We might as well instigate a dive. Hecarim was just going to sequence down and relax himself a little bit, but Cassidy in his TP, we're super fed, let's go make the play. And this is the most important thing, okay? You got all the so many things happening on his ability bar here, all the buffs and debuffs. I was just looking for the Phase Rush proc. Rotate immediately. If you are fed and you can help these laners, and there's just nothing that can stand in your way, especially when you're unholy tanking, you're focusing speed because you know that your laners are not playing well. Use all 6 limbs if you have to, and rake yourself with your scythe thing and get to those lanes. When you see fights and dives, rotate. When you see 6 advantages, use them. And this is what he's doing. He's playing the map, denying the enemy jungler, using that pressure with his lead to either kill him or to translate it to lane abuse. Then, as a reward, he's taking objectives, and as a reward for the objectives, he's taking his camps. And he will only take his camps if it makes sense to sequence down and then use my ult again, obviously he just did, and use his herald. And that's exactly what he's doing. The order of events is very important. He's not farming and then doing these things. If something happens while he's farming as a reward, like you saw just now, goes to the event, impacts it, carries on his business afterwards. So it's basically a good total jungling package, and this is why Hecarim is so good in Korean high elo. I think they have the right attitude that really makes this champion shine, to be honest with you. I really do think that. The champion, I hate as in principle to face and so on, but you know, like Viego. Viego's frustrating to face, but to watch a good Viego, to watch a good Hecarim, these are enjoyable, you know, and analytically as well. I like their decision making because Hecarim that does a level 2 gank, a Hecarim does 3 camps, maybe with Predator, like a red side, back to base with boots, you know, but again, I don't like those things anymore. You're compromising your experience too much because even though it's a bit more of a ganky and fighting meta, it's not ignore your camps meta, you know. The counter jungling is very important, especially tier 2, tier 3 camps. So yeah, they have to kind of do that 4-5 camp. How do you play with that kind of champion in this current meta? I think you're seeing that very, very well. The 4 camp was completed by the time, usually if you're doing a 4 camp, if a champion is going to do a 3 camp or a 2 camp or a 1 camp, they've already made their play. You've seen them. So how you react to that's very important. Whether it's carrying on your sequencing and just enjoying yourself like a Karthus would, or like the Hecarim did and rotate. LeBlanc, what you doing? What you doing, LeBlanc? You know, free plates for me. Chains hit. Doesn't matter. Alright, so a little bit of Ring Around the Rosies, for those that are familiar with that game, to get the LeBlanc, and absolutely worth it. We get a whole bunch of plates before the top landings expired. We go now to the Raptors, level 9 camp, so we're already reaching the maximum experience that can be gained by a camp. Jax is pushing top lane. Now most of you, let's be honest, would not make this play. You would think immediately, hey, I need to go back to base, spend my gold, or do something else. We're at 0.5 speed. He's going so fast that I thought it was still real time. Rotate, defend the tower, man. I mean, no one can touch you except for Jax, because level 9 as well. So everything should be free. He basically sequenced down at a perfect time that they would all respawn at that level. So that's good. That's really good. Graves, in the meantime, is moping around the map, doing what he does. I don't really care at this point because I'm so fed. Do your red side here, reset, and now let's try go for Drake. I do think, 100%, that we should be looking a bit more for dragons because, you see, this is bountified. Bountified. And I don't like the idea of giving free bounties, even in this situation. In the closing games video, we talked about being a goblin hoarder. You know, you sit on your gold too long. I talked about being a back hater where you just push waves and you don't go back in time. Talked about hesitating for engages and so on. And these things really cost you. But in this game, giving him that one bounty is not going to impact the map too much, especially if you can now translate this to kills and push out waves. Now, you're probably going to lose mid lane at some point as well as a bounty. So use your speed now. Try and defend. You don't want to give away too many bounties. Because imagine you give away Dragon, mid, Herald, top. That's a lot of gold to give up when you're leading. So in the case of Jax, you could say, well, he will think, I deserve the ability to try and carry my team. LeBlanc has done okay, but nothing to write home about. But bot lane definitely don't deserve to get that bounty. But Graves doesn't either, yet he's going to. So there's a coin flip approach to who deserves to get bounties and what. And you cannot hold them all, which is my point. So someone on the enemy team will most likely look to try and grab bounties. You have to do what you can to deny that, and which is why I like controlling the dragons so much. Because when I control the dragons and I control the heralds, I can focus on rotating to towers, I can focus on rotating to fights, and that allows me a bit more forgiveness in terms of, hey, you guys want that bottom lane tower bounty? Fine. The only other thing on the map for me is to push your lanes and take your towers as well, so I can keep pushing the map and I can keep the pressure up. Now, we're in a bit of a reactive mode, trying to stop them getting as many bounties as possible. So that's where that dragon control comes in. I think in low elo games, it's always a good idea just to keep it a bit more standardized. Don't overthink it. If the jungle's top lane and you have a huge lead, do the Drake, swap over, do top side, counter jungle, take the Herald, use it, swap over again. You know, ping pong the objectives, keep it simple, and deny those bounties as best you can. It's usually my advice in this situation. When you see the Hecarim, super tonky, Graves is going to show up here. The Kassadin goes the wrong direction, but then can go back in because he's Kassadino. It is level 12, this Graves, worth noting. The Kassadin's level 11. Doesn't matter, Hecarim does the job. He's just running over them. He's just literally, this is like, not Phase Rush, Chem Tank Season 11 levels, but it's reminiscent of it. I think the most important thing is he didn't AFK farm to get this. In Season 11, you used to AFK farm, and now you come out 3 levels ahead and you do it. The Hecarim's had to earn his position to be able to do this. And the Phase Rush, you know, it's got a good win rate. It's got a lot of utility, especially against ranged comps. I do think it's being slept on slightly, but as a default, Conqueror, I think, is still your best bet. Even in these situations, you can see what if you're thinking, level 3 fight on Krugs, fighting a Jax, fisting 3 people, Conqueror is always going to do well. But if it lets you get in and out, and it saves your life, which it will, and it lets you wait for your cooldowns, which it will, then it's obviously good. So here now, we've denied the Herald. We've denied this one for now, but it should fall at some point. Now we can fall back to our red side. We have to look at the top lane. Are we comfortable destroying this guy? I would say so. So let's make sure he does not get a free bounty. Again, Hecarim is a specialist at this, but Warwick can do it. Talon can do it. Vi can move quite quickly around the map with her Q. Trundle is a strong champion. He can also move quickly around the map. So you're seeing the kind of champions that are strong are definitely ones that can not only farm a decent speed, good cadence, but they can also gank and rotate very quickly. Because you need to be able to stop bounties. I mean, if you can stop bounties while pushing the map and doing what the Hecarim's doing, you are primed and ready for Season 12. Primed and ready. Oh, hello. Are you sure you want to be there, good sir? I have a Force of Nature, Thorn Mail, Turbo Chem Tank, Ionian Boots of the City, and you know, while I was looking down there not commentating on the fight, he bit off more than he can chew, and Ezreal did Ezreal things. So, the Ezreal was sure he wanted to do that. What do I know? My bad. That's his only death, though. In defense, that's his only death, and we call these people the tunnel visioners. Tunnel visioners, yeah. You know. I don't mind a limit test here or there. Now he gets it. Now imagine Jax takes this, they take this, they take this. Imagine, right? All that bounty, and imagine your team died, and low, your team probably would have died as well, and then they maybe try and flex a Baron. All of those shutdowns, all of that gold infusion that they get is because you dove too deep and greeted on the Ezreal. Conqueror would have been better in that situation. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, the bounties, that sucks for you because you deserve to win the game, but at the same time, you make one mistake, you make two mistakes, you make three mistakes. It has a chain reaction. It has a chain reaction. And the thing is, you've got to stop thinking about it in terms of, hey, I make one mistake. I mean, your team is not exactly, like, it's you versus the world at this stage. All right, Jax is still split pushing the top side. Now we're going to give him pain for what he did to us. And now it's time to really push him up. I think we're a bit too chilled in that middle phase in the last 5 minutes. We've been a bit too relaxed about pushing our advantages into the second tier of towers. Don't need on 4K now. But again, that's all an extension of him dying on the top lane tower. His only death, but it's a throw moment. And the thing is, you can say, well, I make one mistake. It's not really like a mistake. That was a conscious decision to greed and to limit test. It's a little bit different. Right. Now that you've done that, closing out, hopefully you're getting some good tips here about, just general behaviors and attitudes. But the mechanics of the situation I described in the main channel video. This is great. Definitely as well, pushing them out means pushing the waves out, securing these outer towers, rotating through their jungle, laying wards, laying traps if someone's out of position. Knock him out, make him gray screen for a little bit, and then fall back to take all of these camps, push the waves to crash him, and then you can reset. And obviously, you don't want to bounce him back and forth. You can set up some slow pushes if you need, and if someone's going to greed, kill, perfect, and they will. Challenger, Grandmaster, ADCs are doing this, trust me, they're doing it in your game. You just got to see it. That's what I'm trying to point out to you. The mistakes do exist, and it's very easy to see in this VOD, and all the VODs we do, but in your games it can be tough to see when you're trying to learn jungle, learn champion. So do some VOD review yourself, it's very valuable. Now once you've done that, if you don't need to spend gold, we have 2,000, you can fall back to your Scuttle, you can fall back to your Gromp, and then we can reset, but don't be a Goblin Hoarder, dirty Goblin Hoarder. He's not, he knows. The Baron is available, Baron is bound to fight. Let me go and get my Randuin's Omen. And now, because Kassadin has died and Akshan has... these solo laners. Because they have died, it's important to be on the map. Now imagine he had stayed out, and this is my point. Imagine he'd stayed out to do these for no particular reason. And they start going onto the Baron. He feels the need for speed and to rotate to try and do something about it. But he doesn't have Randuin's completed. So that back timing is very important, because now if that happened, he has Randuin's. And 2 control wards. So we catch a wild Zerath in the wild, I guess. Ezreal kills Yin, great, beautiful team that he has here. But because we're super tanky, because we have a lot of actives, because we are Hecarim, we can just chase down and say goodnight, sweet prince. And now we can leave. Jax is just split pushing, hitting those bounties and those towers. It's something you have to be very concerned with. And that's a difficulty in 1v9ing. I mean, if you're a Volibear, you can definitely play like this. I do play like this, but it's tougher because you don't have that movement speed. You got to use your Qs and your movement speed abilities and your map scalings to get around the map. That's what I'm saying. Viegos can also do. There you go. Viego with the E. Collapse and crash. Collapse and crash. Collapse and kill. Crashed onto champions, by the way, not the waves. Now, see now, Graves, I don't know. That's just, this, I know what this feels like. I'm sure a lot of you do know what this feels like. You're just destroying the enemy jungle. It's a pure jungle diff, crab dance extraordinaire video link in the post-game chat. But your laners are making things difficult, and they keep dying one by one. Actually quite realistic. They're dying one by one. So what do? As I said, pushing and stealing all these camps and making picks. Step 1, that's great. Fall back to camps. If you have enough gold for atomization, reset. Don't overstay. If your team dies, make sure that those back timings are good, because then it will allow you to be in a situation where you're at the most fed you can possibly be to try and clean up scenarios. And if someone is splitting and they have numbers disadvantage or people are resetting, rotate to the bottom, rotate to the top, rotate to the split push and just kill them. 4v1, 3v1, 4v2. And from there, with numbers advantage, because they're dead, try and gain further numbers advantage and yeet the Baron. So make those Baron calls. Make those Baron calls in these situations. We kill jungler and top laner. Straight over. I do think the dragon control would have been a lot nicer to have. Either way, you see, the game is not as runaway as you thought it was going to be. And it's because of bounties, but it's also because the solo laners do not deserve to win. It's just 50-50. But you deserve to win, so you have to be able to fight through this new construct. Akshan. Akshan and Jin, that's not fun for it's not fun for squishies. But again, nice. Fully rotation, whatever that is. Full rotations. Make the pick because we don't want to test the limits of our team comp. Be very, very cautious here. See, that's where the phase rush is absolutely huge. In and out, you can use his abilities to not die, and that's where it's absolutely huge in those team fights. Use the Baron, disrupt as much as you can. Again, in and out, in and out, in and out. Nicely done. But sometimes you're not going to win from this push. Don't overgreed for this push. Shield bow. Great. That Nautilus hook. So you're looking at the phase rush cooldown timers. Now we're kind of low, so don't overstay. The tower dive was a little bit risky. Yeah, there's a bounty on the Drake, you know. Do you go for it? I think, you know what? I probably try and just coin flip. It's like no one's going to be remotely... No, I don't even coin flip. I just go take it. It's too huge. It's too huge for me. I would do this. I would do this. Take it in base. Yeah, you could have easily gotten that. You'd be in a similar scenario as you are now. And now, because your team is, again, just going in without you, if you're not with your team and your team is not with you, look at why. In this situation, he left, right? Oh, that's very nicely done. That's very nicely done. But he rotated as soon as he saw his team was in a precarious situation, posturing to fight. He immediately left whatever he was doing. He got there so he could be with his team because he's the Fed member. And that's why he wins these games and a lot of people don't. How many of you would have just gone top lane, split it, and gone back to base and said, guys, don't engage without me? And then they die and then they get dragged and you're yelling at your team. That's the difference right there, right there. So keep that in mind also. And that's how you can close games, even when things don't always go as well as they could, and even when you have one throw moment. Season 12, Hecarim, Phase Rush, Conqueror. Don't really think the Predator's that good anymore. Divine Sundra, Chem Tank, whatever you need, he has it. Thank you very much for watching. Please do like, share, and comment if you did enjoy and learn something, and all through the ranting and the weird noises and the funny faces. And Best Junglers is on the main channel for your tier list needs. Now, see you all in the next tutorial.